being recorded.
For Monday, May 11th. First order on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions?
Resolution.
Mayor, the only thing that we want to make sure that we add is under 8A1, the joint powers agreement between the Tracy Police Department and the county. We were provided with the contract, which we sent to you earlier today for the joint powers agreement, and they also provided a resolution as well. We didn't have that on the agenda originally to do it by resolution, but since we have it, we added that, and so the agenda would be including that resolution as a new item. We didn't publish that originally on Friday.
Is there a number on that resolution?
Was it 20-22?
We can also remove B1 and B2
Yeah. Oh,
up in the consent calendar because there are no payments to Sanford and there was no payment to Breakthrough.
Sure.
Okay, anything else? Need a motion to approve as amended?
Motion to approve is amended. Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Go to vote.
Jones,
Aye.
Towle,
Aye.
Landite,
Aye.
Teagues,
Aye.
Mayor Peterson.
Aye. Motion carries. Nobody down there, Eric, for public comment?
No, we don't have anybody that emailed in to ask.
Okay. The next item on the agenda then is the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion to approve the April 27th minutes, the municipal accounts payable, and the Tracy relief minutes. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Go to vote.
Teagues,
Aye.
Towle,
Aye.
Landite,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Mayor Peterson.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item is Mayor Council Communications, and first thing up is to appoint an EDA board member to fill George's seat. There's 3 applications in your package, and I would like to see that position, and I would like to appoint Mark Seeger to that seat. And I would entertain any motion to do so.
I would agree with that because he's been on it before and he's a business owner and he's kind of plugged into a bunch of things that are going on. So I would make a motion to appoint Mark Seeger to the EDA board.
I'll second it. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Want to vote?
Towle,
Aye.
Landite,
Aye.
Teagues,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Mayor Peterson.
Aye. Motion carries. And again, under Mayor Council Communications, I've been contacted by quite a few business owners actually, with everything that's going on and in light of what they've done in other communities. They're asking for council support to send a letter to the governor and the state legislatures to get the businesses open. Our small businesses are suffering badly, and we need to do everything we can do in order to support that. The ones I've talked to, I've urged them to independently send a letter also. But I think as a council, we should lead for the community and forward a letter on to the governor and to our senator and our representatives. So I had Eric draft one. He sent it out to everybody.
Yep.
Any issues with that, or any discussion on it, or?
Well, all I can say is that in the last week, just driving around to the different businesses that I go to, they're all to the point where they're all ready to just open up regardless.
Yeah.
You know, within reason, keep things clean, keep people spaced apart, prop open doors if they need to, but they're all looking at they need to get going again, or there's not going to be anything to get going.
I guess I agree with that. It's time to get going. We're all either going to get it or die. One of those two ways, I think.
Well, we're all gonna die. There's no way out of this world alive.
But I think most of the business owners would look at it, it's like, yeah, we're going to limit the people in there. We're going to, you know, do the A, B, and C, because they don't want to be the fault of things going south either.
Well, and they're going to ensure their customers of their safety to come in there. But
Yep.
ultimately, it's still up to the individual. If they don't feel safe going into a business, even if it's open, they still don't have to go in. But I think as a
Correct.
council to show that we're in support of them and sending the letter, I think is the right thing to do as a council.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Do we need a motion on that, Tony, or?
We might as well have that, yeah.
I want to ask also, council, as well as if you can include in that motion, because what I had suggested earlier is that I could have Jeff contact some business people and ask them also to sign on to a letter as well, or maybe even sign on to the letter, so it comes, you know, not just from the city but also the business community. And if you can give me direction to, you know, have Jeff do that as well as approve the letter, that will be helpful too.
I would say, personally, I would say there should be one from the council, and then we could basically use a very similar letter, maybe change a little bit of the wording,
We could do
and
that.
have several businesses from town, but we could include it in the same email or
Yeah.
letter, however you plan on sending it. But
Yeah.
I would keep the council and the business owners separate.
We can do that. We can draft a letter for the business people as well, and have Jeff circulate that. A separate one. You bet.
So I would make a motion to approve us sending the letter from the council supporting opening the small businesses back up again.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? The only thing I want to say about it is the letter from the council, we need to get that out tomorrow.
Yep.
Yes.
Because he's going to probably act before close of business on Friday. So
Yep.
the more we can give him, the faster, the better. So, is there any other discussion? Okay. Go to vote.
Landite,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Teagues,
Aye.
Mayor Peterson.
Aye. Motion carries. And I had one other thing under Mayor Council Communications, is I had members of the public ask if it would be possible to live stream the council on either Facebook or YouTube. So I guess I'm tasking you, Eric, to see if we can make that happen, and if not, then we'll explain why not.
Yeah, but it's not live. It does get put up on YouTube, but it's not live. I actually was asking
Right.
Shane about this a month or so ago, and I don't remember if there was a technical issue associated with that, but I thought that there was.
That'd be an Adam Hansen question.
Okay, yeah, we'll look into it, absolutely. And I think that's a great idea, Mayor.
Okay. And then I thought I heard Jeff back there saying he was gonna give us a little update, or we move that on to the new business.
What are we talking about, Mayor? I'm sorry.
Dale, not Jeff.
Oh, Dale is here to talk
Dale.
about the fire contracts, but I think under staff reports, he wanted to talk about some things as well.
Okay, I didn't quite understand who was there, but we'll take care of them then on item 8A2. So, is there any other mayor council communications?
I just want to make sure that I'm getting direction from the council to also draft a letter for the business community to look at and sign. Is that correct?
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else?
That's it, Mayor, as far as I know.
Okay. Then, we're going to new business then, item A1, the joint powers agreement.
Do you want to have Dale talk about his COVID meetings under staff reports before we do that, or you want to wait until he's coming up to talk about?
Oh, yeah, we'll do that first then.
Okay, Dale.
Do I have to go to a speaker?
Just go over
You're gonna
here
have
and
to-
look at the,
You can come and sit up here where I'm sitting.
No, I'm not. I'll sit down here.
yeah,
There
just,
you are.
Go that way
A little
about
bit that way,
2
yeah.
feet, you'll have her in there.
there you go.
There you go.
There, you're in there now.
So just a brief update, one of the very first meetings that we had with Administrator Hanson, he set up, or asked us to set up a pandemic preparedness group, people in town that, the schools, the hospital, nursing home, and crucial department heads in the city. We meet every Monday, started out by trying to secure a bunch of PPE for different entities, including the fire department, ambulance, police department, working with the nursing home, working back and forth with the hospital, the school, and Twin Circles. PPE was kind of the big thing at first. Jerry, feel free to chime in if I'm missing something here. We got a bunch of the PPE issues semi-resolved, did a little bit of running and got everything lined up. One of the next things we've been doing is working with the school more recently in how we're going to, the teacher parade that was last week, and working with a bunch of the graduation and how they're going to still try to make some of these days, these very special days, memorable and even happen for the students. A lot of it goes back to what you guys talked about earlier with, it's just time to try to go back to normal. I guess I'll probably close on this and just saying, short of wasting a bunch of your time with all the details, because everything seems to change a little bit day to day, but we are actively working with the school, and the school has done a ton of work on trying to put together the best way to pull off a social distance graduation / parade. And just so you guys are aware that we are going to be utilizing some city resources to assist in that, and some personnel to make sure that it goes off as best as it can, and still without breaking social distancing. That's about all I got on that.
Sounds fair enough to me.
I just
Sounds like you guys have been on top of it from the start, and it's appreciated.
I just want to add that, I think Dale's done a tremendous job, council, in organizing this whole thing. I mean, he's a part-time chief, and I think he's putting in a lot more than part-time on this whole deal right now. And I think it does make a difference. And I think everybody in the community appreciates the work that these folks are doing to try to make it a good graduation as well. And so I just want to add that, my personal thanks, and just let you know how I felt about it.
Okay.
So
Sounds great.
just to make sure that you guys are good with maybe additional law enforcement, fire presence wherever needed to assist the school, correct? With graduation?
I think that's the best PR stuff that we got right now.
Sure.
The feedback I'm getting, it's all been positive on it, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
That's all we got for staff reports.
We'll do item A1 and the joint powers agreement. Everybody had a chance to look that over? If so, I'd entertain a motion for the resolution 2020-22.
Thank you, make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve the resolution for a joint powers agreement. Is there any discussion? Call for a vote.
Teigs,
Aye.
Towle,
Aye?
Jones,
Aye.
Landite,
Aye.
Mayor Peterson.
Aye, motion approved. The next item is the approval of the rural fire contracts for the season.
Do you have anything, Dale, you want to add anything, Dale, on that?
I just want to say that in all my years of chief, this was the easiest year of rural fire contracts that there was, and thank you very much, Diane,
Thank you.
for doing everything.
Yep.
Super.
I'll make the motion that we approve the rural fire contracts.
I'll second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Want to vote?
Jones,
Aye.
Towle,
Aye?
Teigs,
Aye.
Landite,
Aye.
Mayor Peterson.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item is the aquatic center with our COVID-19. Eric, if you can.
Yeah, I'd like to tee this up if it's okay, Mayor. Just for the public in particular, there's a, information in your packet. But basically what it boils down to is that we are currently closed. We can't open any pools. No pool is open in the state per order by the governor. And our pool is licensed by the state, as is every pool in the state of Minnesota. And so what that means is that we can't open it even if we want to. So at this point, we don't have an option for opening the pool. Our options are really, do we want to close the pool for the summer, or do we want to wait and see, what happens? But ultimately, the decision is tied, to the governor. Our recommendation is to wait until what the governor does this week with his order to see if pools are open. If he allows pools to be opened, then we can move forward and start the opening process, which takes 3 to 4 weeks. We're already behind on that currently, and that means that at best the pool would be open sometime in early to mid-June. If the governor says no, pools still need to stay closed, then essentially we would have to make the decision to close the pool for the summer. There's a couple of reasons for that. We don't want to do it, but we're in a bit of a jam from a staffing standpoint. The first one is that we have to get new lifeguards trained. They can't get trained without time in a pool with the Red Cross to test them and train them. And since no pools are open, there's nowhere to get those potential lifeguards trained. The second issue is really from a maintenance, getting the pool ready, and which is what Shane's group is doing, and it takes some time to do that and resources to do that. And so hiring all the lifeguards and getting the systems up and running really puts us in a bind if we don't make a decision, especially not knowing what the governor is going to do. I recognize how awful this decision is for the community. It is an awful decision for you to have to make, because I know people, really look forward to this as an amenity, and it's important for the city. It's important for the families that are utilizing it. Our hands, unfortunately, are just really tied at this point because we're not allowed to open it. So, with that kind of tee up, I guess, I would ask you, Mayor, to open it up for discussion to see how people feel about it. But our suggestion is that the council make a motion to close the pool unless the governor, reopens it with his executive order that we expect this week. Oh, I want to add one other thing too, is that I also talked to the city administrator in Slayton. He's anticipating that they're going to close their pool The city of Marshall is also anticipating that their pool will be closed for the summer. So I think this is going to be something that's happening all over. Of course, Minneapolis has already done it, but maybe we don't care what they're doing in Minneapolis as much. But the local people are definitely facing the same decisions that we are. So with that, Mayor, that's all I've got.
Okay. Well, a question there, don't we have some boiler repair that we have to make on the pool this year anyway?
We have a boiler repair that we could make. We moved that money initially out to address some of the mold problems here. For sure, if we didn't open the pool, we wouldn't have to make some of those expenditures. I think we could do the repair this summer, assuming that Shane thinks it's a good idea to do that. We talked about it earlier, and he may not want to do it if it's not used during the course of the year.
Right.
But for sure, we'd want to do that. If the pool opened later in the season, if you made the decision to delay it, and let's say we got the pool open in mid-July or something like that, our recommendation would be that we not make that repair until next year, just for cost-saving purposes. But you're correct. There's $20,000 in the budget for that originally.
All right, well, I open it up to our discussion from the members of the council.
Well, I have a question. Earlier, my first council meeting, you had made the mention that it would take 2 weeks to get it ready to go. Now you said 3 to 4.
I don't think I said. I don't think I said 2. But if I did, I was mistaken. It's 3 to 4.
Okay, I guess that's what I thought I heard, so I apologize if I...
No, it's okay. I'm new. I might have said the wrong thing, George.
I don't know if you did or didn't, I guess.
I think that our biggest problem is going to be employees.
Yeah.
Because let's say, we get the word Friday, we can open it up, we can turn it around let's say June 20th, we could open it. Well, we're going to be open for 6 weeks. And then all the people that would be the lifeguards are going to be going back to schools. Or starting online school, or however that works out. So I think employees are going to be our biggest issue.
What Shannon, the pool manager, has told me is that she's concerned that people will want to know now whether they're going to have a summer job, because if they don't work at the pool, they're going to want to work somewhere else. And so if we delay the opening, she thinks she might have half a dozen people that she could bring back, and normally she needs about 16 lifeguards. So
right.
I would guess that if we delayed the decision, it would hurt us from a staffing standpoint, and definitely we might have to reduce hours or something like that, because we wouldn't have enough people to cover all the slots. But yes, staffing is a significant issue for sure, council member.
Well, let's not jump the gun on this. We don't know if we're going to have staffing issues. We're assuming that the governor will open it, or hope he will. So it's hard to make a decision until you know what the decision can be. If the governor says don't open it, it's case closed. But it's like shutting the door before the door's open.
That's right, council member. That's why I'm suggesting that the motion is that we tie the decision to the governor's decision this week. So if he decides to open them, then we open it. If he decides to keep them closed, then we close it.
Good idea.
And that, do we know when his press conference is going to be yet, or?
If history is any gauge, it's probably going to be Thursday. That's usually what he does.
Any other discussion?
My other question is for Matt. Say we open the pool and then we have an issue. Is there a liability say the governor says we can, of course, and then we have an issue, does that come back on us?
Well, we are covered by the league through our insurance for pandemics like this, of the pathogens. So we do have liability coverage through the league that we pay for. So they would cover that if we did have an occurrence where someone tested positive. With the pool, if we opened it, we certainly want to try to limit any liability, and that would be mainly by trying to follow the CDC regulations with social distancing and whatever that may look like for the pool. I don't know, but we would have to take precautions to make sure that we follow whatever regulations and guidelines that we could to limit potential liability. So long as we follow those guidelines, we would be taking the necessary steps, and we wouldn't be, it would be very hard for the city to be found liable if we were permitted to open and we followed the guidelines. So that would be the trickiest part, is just to figure out what those guidelines would be for a pool. So those are decisions that are above my head. A medical professional or some disease expert would need to come up with, but I'm assuming those are things the governor is taking into consideration in determining whether to open pools and aquatic centers and things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion then?
We're just looking for a motion to, at this point in time, to wait and see what the governor does as far as opening pools, and then we'll follow. I mean, if he closes them, we follow that. If he says they can open, we'll follow that.
That's what I'm asking for, and I want it, but I'd like it to be even more specific than that, council member, so that it basically ties it to his decision this week. So if he keeps pools closed starting the 18th, which is when the current executive order expires, then we would close it for the summer. If he opens it on the 18th, then we would open the pool.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Any other discussion?
So we basically need a motion stating that we are going to follow the state of Minnesota's guidelines for opening or closing our pool this year.
Yes.
Right.
That's my motion then.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second regarding the aquatic center opening or not. Is there any discussion? Go to vote?
Landite,
Aye.
Tell,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Teagues,
Aye.
Mayor Peterson.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the upcoming elections and considering mail ballots for the 2020 elections.
I'm going to throw this over to Diane, Mayor. She knows more about this than I do, and
Okay.
we were asked to address this with the council because it's a hot topic right now because of the pandemic. Do you do mail ballot elections or not? Currently, we're not slated for mail ballot elections, but the county auditor, right, asked us to address with the council, and so I'll throw it over to Diane.
So right now, the Secretary of State's office and the legislation are trying to determine for the primary and general elections coming up if they want to make the whole state a mail ballot, or if they want to have the polling places open and taking specific safety precautions to allow that to happen. If we do that, there will be some added expenses to make sure that the judges as well as the voters are protected, and we would also likely have to have somebody on site to make sure that the booths are sanitized and the election equipment are continually sanitized and those types of things. If we go to an all ballot, mailing ballot, I am guessing, our auditor hasn't confirmed this yet, but I'm guessing that they will be billing out all the cities and townships for their time and postage and that type of thing to go that route. And what they would do is send out an application to all the registered voters as well as newly registered voters. And then the voter would have to return that application to the county. The county would then turn around and mail the ballots out to the registered voter, and then they would return it to the county. The downfall with that would be they would likely not be able to call any of the offices being voted on that night. It would likely not be called until a day or two later, probably 2 or 3 days later. Obviously, the mail ballot would be the safest route to go, but there's also certain parties that are passionate about making sure that the voters have the opportunity to go to the polling places. So the county auditor, as Eric alluded to, is encouraging us to send a letter either supporting the mail ballot or supporting the polling place being open, so that they can make a decision based on what the cities and townships are wanting to see happen.
Diane, when does the state need to make a decision on this?
I would say soon, because we have to get all the judges trained. Finding judges may be an issue, but they do need to be trained, and we have to have a list of judges to the county by mid-June. And they have to be trained by July for the August primary. So I would say it would be a decision that needs to be made soon.
I mean, I think we kind of have a unique setup that we have the whole gym and everything. It's not like we wouldn't have the space to be able to spread voters out.
One
Do
thing
you
I will say, Jerry, if the state decides to go mail ballot, then it won't be a decision for the council to make.
No, I understand that,
Okay.
but you're asking us to send a letter in support of one way or another.
Correct.
And I'm just stating, if we go with the option of in-person voting or mail-in voting, the one thing with the in-person is we do have the space that would allow safe social distancing.
Right.
Yep.
I would agree with that.
Because
Go ahead, Jerry.
we're just making this for our city, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Our recommendation.
Yep.
I guess I'm interested in what other people are thinking.
I'm thinking along the same lines as you. We have the space. We could make it work fairly easily in our town. So I would send a letter encouraging to do the in-person voting, because it would work for us, the city of Tracy.
Well, and people still have an option to do absentee voting if they don't want to come down. So people are still having the option, if they don't feel safe, they can still vote.
Yes.
Correct.
But we're not taking that away from anybody.
I agree. Trying to set up an all mail-in system without really a considerable amount of time in the thought process, I don't think it's a good idea from that point. I mean, if they want to do this, they would need to think it out and see what other states have done and what the upside is, what the downside is. And either way, it's going to be a cost to the city, whether we get stuck with mail-in or if we have to do some mitigation for social distancing, there's going to be an added expense.
So do we need a motion on something like that for you, Diane, or?
Yeah, if you want a letter sent one way or the other, which that's not required, the county auditor is just encouraging us to do that. So if you want to send a letter, then yes, a motion would be great. If you just don't want to acknowledge it on any level, then I don't need a motion.
No, I feel we need to send a letter. So I guess I'll make the motion that we send a letter that we prefer to stay with on site, or whatever it's.
In person.
Yeah, in person. Thank you.
I would second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those will go for vote.
Tao?
Aye.
Landite?
Aye.
Teagues?
Aye.
Shones?
Aye.
Mayor Peterson?
Aye, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is a petition for local improvement.
That's Shane.
So, a few of you may be familiar with this form from phase one. So what he's petitioning, in this case, is to have the sewer extended further into his property. And he's looking to have that assessed, as an additional special assessment on top of the, proposed, assessment from the street project. This is step one of a two-step process. The second step, if the council approves the petition, then they would go to the assessment. I don't know, Matt, you have the technical name for it, but it's irregularity waiver to appeal. And then that form would also show, what the assessment amount is. In this case, we're still waiting for the cost for that second part. Previously in the past, we've set these at 4.4% for 5 years, from phase one. So I guess, I don't know how the council wants to proceed with this. I guess the ball's in your court.
We've done, in the first phase, we did this for other people in the community, correct?
Yes.
Well, I don't see any problem at all. It's all just attached to that piece of property.
Yep.
So I'd make a motion to approve this petition for that.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion and a second for a petition for local improvements. Any discussion?
I have one question, and I don't even know if I ought to say this right. There's been in the past some discrepancy on what they pay for assessments, costing more than the value of the property or whatever. Now, by adding this to it, will that give them reason to make it come down?
Not for
No,
this portion.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. It wouldn't apply to this portion because they're actually waiving their right to appeal it by signing the form.
Okay.
So the portion they're requesting, they would not be able to appeal. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but
Okay.
I don't know if you heard me.
I don't, he's not correcting you. You must be right.
Must be.
You are right.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
You're right, Shane.
Yeah.
I think that's how the process went last time, if I remember right, so.
Yeah. That answer your question, George?
Yep, I did.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Go to vote.
Teigs,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Tell,
Aye.
Landite,
Aye.
Mayor Peterson.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item is the Masonic Lodge contract.
Mayor, this is fairly straightforward. We found that the Masons hadn't done a new lease agreement for the use of the space upstairs to store their stuff as well as hold their meetings, and it'd been 2 years since that happened. The previous lease agreement was for $500 a year, and this is the same agreement for $500 a year, and so it's basically a continuation of what we've been doing. And so we just need a motion to approve the contracts.
I'll make
I
that
make a
motion.
motion. Go ahead, Koo.
I'll make the motion to approve the Masonic Lodge contract.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Go to vote.
Jones,
Aye.
Tell,
Aye.
Landite,
Aye.
Dave Teigs,
Aye.
Mayor Peterson.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, before we go to B, Matt, can you hear me?
Again,
Okay. This is what George and mine's favorite subject. The council meeting's going back to the council chambers. What can you do to help us out here?
so there's no prohibition against you guys holding an in-person live meeting. The governor's executive order does not prohibit that. So you can do that. The only problem with that is, like I was discussing before, you want to make sure that you follow the CDC protocols if you do pursue that. The issue then is how many people are going to be present in the chambers, and can you work around that? Right now, the recommendations loosely say no more than gatherings of 10 or more people, 6 feet apart. That's going to greatly reduce the number of people that can be present in the chambers, given 5 council members, staff members, department heads. So that's the problem. And the open meeting laws in Minnesota, once you have an open public meeting, everyone has to be able to attend and hear or see what's going on. So I don't know how the council works around that. That's the biggest problem that I see. The liability, if you guys follow the CDC protocols, I think it's fine. As long as you have implement our policies and strategies in place, and you have the liability coverage with the league. So long as you follow those guidelines, you're going to be fine. It's just getting around the open meeting law. If you do have an open public meeting, how you accommodate everyone that wants to be there so that it can hear or see the meeting. That's the biggest issue that I see legally.
Do we have that many people? And I've been to quite a few of those, and there's never been that many people there unless there's a hot issue, which I don't see coming down the road here. But
Well,
can't you do like they do at Menard, just limit so many people in, and
just let
that's how it is?
let me comment on that, because if you do the math, you got 5 council members, Diane, myself, and Shane is 3. That's 8 people. Pair, the press is 9, and so that means that you allow one person, other person in order to have 10 or less. As I understand it, what Matt is saying is that in order to accommodate open meetings, you can't tell people they can't attend, which means that if you have 2 people show up, then all of a sudden we're exceeding 10. And the question then is, how do we handle that under this circumstance? And that'd be my question for Matt, is how do we handle that if you get 2 people show up outside of those people that I just mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, they have to be allowed in if you have a public meeting. If you turn them away, that's technically a violation of the meeting laws. It's subject the city to civil fines and paying their attorney's fees if they pursue that against the city. So that really puts us in a difficult position, because if you reach that number and you're turning people away, and that in a sense is a violation. You're violating the open meeting.
My question on that then, Matt, would be, we set up a TV in the gymnasium and have the 6-foot X's on the floor, and if someone wanted to approach the council, we had a traffic cop at the door to let one out, let one in, and would that suffice? And then if you had more than 10 there, you did the other one across the street at one of our other 2 locations?
Absolutely, that would comply. So you just have to allow the public to either see or hear the meeting.
Right.
So if you could somehow arrange that where they could have a television or a recording, hear the meeting live, that would suffice.
Okay.
Can we do that?
And then if they had public comments, I would advise that they submit written letters or notes. That's what I would recommend.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think that would probably generate more public comment if they don't have to stand up and do the talking. So if we could stress that going forward, no matter what, just to get some input, I think it'd be a good idea. But
Well, I'm thinking we should maybe wait until see what happens this week at the press conference. He may all of a sudden open it up. It's like it can be 25 people or 50 or whatever it can be in a group, and then we have no issue. I mean, we'd have to figure out the same type of thing to stay 6 feet apart, but we may not have to jump through as many hoops. That's my thought on it.
that's true, but there's going to be some logistics involved if we decide to pull the trigger. So
Correct.
My question would be, what can we do to prep for that to see if it works before we say, all right, this is what we're going to do, and then everybody's running around trying to get it set up. I think we should look it over and see if we can make it work.
We can look at the logistics, Mayor, and figure out if you wanted to do it, how we would do it, if you'd like.
I think
I
we're
would
gonna
like to
have to
plan
do
on
it.
that, yeah.
You know, just create a plan for how we would do it. We were just,
I would like to see that.
Yeah.
And depending upon what he says Thursday, plan our next meeting that way. It'll be on a Tuesday next week, or next one, right?
well, we don't, but, to Councilmember Teague's point, we don't have to make the decision right this minute. We really just need to make the decision before we notice the meeting,
Right.
But we could put together a plan about how you might do it. Option A is obviously doing it like we're doing it now. Option B then is something else that would allow people to see and hear the meeting and also participate in a way, but not more than 10 people in one place at one time. Off the top of my head, it probably would involve having a TV set up in the gym. But we would have to make sure that, well, we could work with Matt to make sure we notice it correctly as well.
Do we have to meet inside the council chambers? Could we meet in the big room?
I was thinking about that, George. Yes, I think that is an option, right? You still have to have 10 or less people in the room, though, I think is what the issue is.
Televised then.
But we also wouldn't be able to televise it if it were in the gym. We're not required to televise it by any means, so you could make that decision, but we don't have the recording equipment in there to do it, so the public wouldn't see it.
Well, I would suggest let's do our next meeting on going to be Tuesday the 26th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To do that one virtually like this, but give the office time to work throughout any kinks, details, figure out how things are going to work, and then starting in June, we could go back to live meetings in some way, shape, or form.
Well, and does the gym, if we split that in half, we could fit 10 on one side and 10 on the other side?
Well, my question on that's a good idea, Jerry. My question is, if you're maintaining your 6-foot social distancing from everybody, you could put more people in that gym than it's ever started up to a council meeting.
True.
Yeah, but, and it, just to throw it out as an example.
I think it's 6 feet or less and 10 or less people gathering in one spot, Mayor. I think it's both. But I think your point is well taken. You could have 10 or less in the council chambers, and then I think if you had 10 in the gym, that would cover probably almost anybody that would want to come to a meeting, unless you all want to do something controversial in the next couple weeks.
I think they're fighting a fight that shouldn't be fought there, because go to Walmart, there's more than 10 people in there, they're closer than that. So it's like I said, I think we should do our next meeting virtually again. Give you guys time down there to figure out all the details to go back live.
We can figure it out.
That would be my suggestion.
I guess I agree. The grocery store has more than 10. Midwest Supply has more than 10. Any business that's open today in Tracy has more than 10 at one time, and nobody gets in trouble there. Why would we as a council?
I agree with you, George.
Matt? Matt, did you hear that?
Can you say that again?
I just wondered, there's more than 10 people in our grocery store downtown. There's more than 10 people in Midwest Supply at one time. Why we as a council have to stay under 10 or at 10?
That's a recommendation from the CDC.
So how is the grocery store getting away with it?
Well, that's for like enclosed gatherings. They define it as gatherings, yeah. The grocery stores, I think they say they're larger buildings. They can space out people better. I don't get to it live football, but they determine as gatherings, and that's what legally I'm concerned about is the liability, and that's what the CDC recommends. So that's where the recommendation comes from. I absolutely agree with you. The grocery store has more than 10 people in the same area, so it doesn't make sense. But in terms of city's liability, I think we have to comply with that, or at least try.
Yeah, okay.
So do we need a motion on anything, or?
No, not right now.
No, just, Eric, you understand you got a little homework to do to try and work this out?
Yeah, I have some homework to do to try to figure out how we would do an in-person meeting and comply with the CDC recommendations and the memo that Matt outlined for us, and that we'll do a virtual meeting like this on the 26th with the goal of that being the last one, and then who knows what maybe the governor changes his order, and that gives us more flexibility too.
Works for me.
Okay, that's what I'll proceed unless I have unless I get any other direction from you. That's what we'll do.
Okay. That sounds good. I would like to take a minute, though. I'd like to encourage everybody that's watching this now or watching it in the future to take the time to sit down and write the governor and whoever and Schumacher and give them your thoughts and how you feel about both this voting or the opening the businesses early. The letters work, and the more we can send, the better off we'll be, all of us. So that's what I'd encourage everyone to do.
Eric or Diane, is it one of those that you could post on the TV, like the addresses or email addresses or something out there, so people do want to send letters?
Yeah, we can put that on the website too. Yeah, we can put that encouragement. You bet.
All right, does anybody have anything else? I entertain a motion to adjourn then.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Go to vote?
Landite,
Aye.
Teigs,
Aye.
Tell,
Aye.
Shones,
Aye.
Mayor Peterson.
Aye. Meeting's adjourned.